Can I get some light in here, please? Thank you. And that is what it's like watching the show half the time. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and that's right, a day late, a buck short, but like Blink-182 says, I'm writing the report. That's right, I'm here to report on episode 4 of Ahsoka, and my goodness, what an episode it was. I mean, granted, it's the best episode so far, but that's like saying that, getting gunned down while you're having sex with about a 7 out of 10 is the best way to die so far. Yeah, it's probably a good way to die, but you're still dying. That's how low the bar is for this show. But that being said, it is my duty to report on it, and, yeah, let's get into it, shall we? I just want to say, never have I ever in my life heard the words, heir to the Empire, and not gotten excited, but lo and behold, that's what this show has done. I mean, when they uttered the lines, heir to the Empire, I was completely flaccid. And you would think, as somebody who heir to the Empire is their favorite trilogy of Star Wars books, that would get me hype. But that's what Disney Star Wars has done. It has made me just loathe the concept of the adaptation. And, of course, these girls still haven't learned how to act. Like it opens up and you've got Sabine and Ahsoka on the ship together doing what this show does best. Well, best being relative, I guess. Slowly talking with a lot of awkward pauses and minimal facial expressions. And it just continues until we have Wu Hang get, I believe, or Hu Yang? I don't know, the robot that's the only source of charisma of this entire show, being attacked from the outside, wherein a pointless fight scene ensues. I mean, I don't know if it's really pointless, they were trying to save the robot, but also, he is just a robot. I don't know, I don't want the only source of charisma to die in this episode or in this show at all, so maybe it did have a point to it. But either way, get used to that, pointless violence and pointless action scenes, because that's all this episode is. A lot of people talked about how slow and nothing happening episode 3 was. Episode 4 is like, much the same way. Absolutely abhorrently nothing happens. But at least nothing happens with action going on. And about 30% of the time, the action is relatively decent and worth it. And in true Disney Star Wars fashion, it gives us some cliched philosophy. In this case, it is, we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings. And $10 tells you guys that Sabine is going to do the opposite. She's going to do something incredibly not correct, but it's going to be justified anyway later on, and she's going to be told what she did was right. By the way, spoiler alert, yeah, at the end of this episode, that happens. But before we get to that, there's, like I said, this pointless action scene, and do you guys not know how guns work? I'm getting so tired of watching Disney Star Wars and people not knowing how guns work. When you are holding a gun is what's called a ranged weapon. It means you can use it at a distance. So, if you are holding a gun, in fact, if you're part of a whole platoon of people holding guns, and the 2 people you're trying to shoot do not have guns, I mean, granted, Sabine does, but these guys don't really know that. They've only seen her use a lightsaber. You've got people you're fighting with close-range weapons. You don't run up on them while shooting your little pew-pew device. That defeats the purpose of a damn gun. Like the choreography in this show is maddening. Yes, I see this woman with a laser sword. I see that I have a ranged weapon that I can safely deploy from about 100 yards away and try to kill her. Let's just walk towards her when I am completely useless and defenseless against a freaking lightsaber. Remember I was saying in the first episode of this that lightsabers are effectively toys now because you can get stabbed by them and not, and there'd be no consequences. Yeah, apparently they're toys to everyone else in the universe as well, because we have a whole platoon, a whole squad of soldiers walking up to someone holding a lightsaber as if they're not afraid of it whatsoever, as if they don't know what sort of damage these things can do. Then again, if I just watch someone get stabbed through the gullet with one and then walk it off, I wouldn't be afraid of them either. Maybe it's actually canonical as to why they're walking forward while shooting guns. They don't think the lightsaber is an absolute danger. Oh, but now in this scene, all of a sudden it is. None of these individuals, droids or not, get stabbed or cut down and get right back up. It's okay when it's disposable fodder. Like, why? Why is it so hard to make a scene where people shooting guns keep their distance and maybe the lightsaber wielders, the Jedi, whatnot, have to work towards getting to their location instead of the bad guys stupidly just walking towards the people with damn lightsabers? Anyway, after this pointless fight scene, it cuts back to Hera, which, oh yay, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, more of her, because she's been so fantastic in this show thus far. It's been established she's a general. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about the military, but a general, that's a pretty high rank. That means that she's got, a lot of responsibilities. She has a lot of troops at her command, and what does she do? She says, fuck off, I'm going to go ahead and disregard all of my, warnings and everything that my superior officers have told me, and I'm going to go ahead and go into the fray. I'm going to go look for Sabine and Ahsoka. Court-martial this moron. Like, if you're first of all, how did she get to be a general if this is how she is? She knows that her superiors have told her, you cannot go on this mission, we do not authorize it. And she decides in some cutesy manner to be like, well, once a rebel, always a rebel, because they think that that's some cool, enigmatic, like, very victorious line in Star Wars. But no, it just shows that she's selfish, doesn't care about the safety of her men, and doesn't care about the, chain of command. If you're a general in an army, a budding army at that, because this is only a few years after, Return of the Jedi, so we know that the New Republic is not at full strength yet. She's just abandoning this entire New Republic to go save two idiots who went off on their own mission that aren't tied to the Republic. Ahsoka and Sabine, they got no bearing on it. They're not bound by the chains of the New Republic's rules. They're not soldiers. But this chick, she takes a squad of soldiers, and her also like 10-year-old son, into what could effectively be, for all they know, a suicide mission. Completely disregards her orders and goes anyway. And we're supposed to look up to this chick like she's the hero? Like, oh, look at her disobeying orders for the greater good. What was that line that they tried to teach us about literally earlier in the show? Oh, right. You have to do what's right, regardless of your personal feelings. The show immediately undermines its own message, because here we see Hera only taking her personal feelings into account and doing what is completely wrong. Disobeying orders and putting the New Republic at risk all for her own emotional benefit. Like, how did the writers not see this? You'll wonder why no one cares about the fact that you're on strike. It's stuff like this. Also, during this, the recording of this, I recently found out I did not know that Ray Stevenson had died, so, R.I.P. to the dude. I am so sorry that this trash was his final role before he died. But to his credit, he also plays the only, semi-interesting character in this whole show. I mean, we haven't gotten a whole lot from him yet, but at least he's a kind of cool villain, Baylan. And speaking of Baylan, a lightsaber fight ensues against him and Ahsoka. We also see Sabine fighting the little nobody skinny twig Sith girl that no one cared. What was her name? Like Sen or something like that. Like something real edgy to match her haircut and eyeliner. Her point is, that fight doesn't matter because, let's be honest, it's Sabine and Sabine sucks. But we do get to see Ahsoka fighting Baylan, and this is a horribly choreographed fight. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. There's absolutely no gravitas to any of Rosario Dawson's swings and saber techniques. It seems like she's wildly flailing. There's no elegance to her strikes, which is completely the antithesis to Ahsoka's fighting style. But all that being said, even if there was, let's say there's not supposed to be elegance. Let's say she's supposed to swing her swords like a madman, mad woman, whatever. There's also no impact. Like, I don't feel any sort of hit, any sort of jarring notion when she does swing these swords. Now, Ray Stevenson's Baylan, on the other hand, or I guess his stuntman, really, he did a decently adequate job of making his side of the fighting look convincing. That being said, it's not a super well choreographed fight because it's just a lot of close-ups and quick cuts. Like, you don't ever have any wide shots showing them, for long interrupted wide shots that sort of pan and give you time to really soak in how the fight is going, which I thought we all, collectively as a society decided around 2005 or so that we were tired of quick-cut action scenes. But here we go, Disney bringing them back. Now, it's not the most egregious, version of it I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen other action movies, like Taken, do things a whole lot worse. But if you want me to feel the weight and feel the moment of this lightsaber fight, maybe don't use quick-cut close-up action scenes, and also actually teach this woman how to have a choreographed lightsaber fight that doesn't look like she's attempting to do the robot circa 1987, because rewatch that scene and tell me that it does just not look pathetic how she's swinging her arms. Anyway, Ahsoka loses this lightsaber fight and she is thrust off the edge of a cliff, and Sabine is then convinced to give the bad guys the map to Thrawn. And ladies, I gotta ask, why are y'all so dumb? Like, I don't mean that in like a negative way, just why are women dumb? I didn't used to think women were dumb, mind you. I actually used to hold women in quite the high regard, but all the women in this show keep making really dumb decisions, and Disney has gone out of its way to say over and over how female-centric they want to make Star Wars, and they want to make Star Wars about real women. They want you to feel the plight of these real women. Well, if this is how Disney sees real women, Disney must think that women are dumb, and if Disney thinks women are dumb, I mean, who am I to argue? So maybe just answer me, vulva holders. Why are you dumb? And also, just the last little nitpick, was this episode really quiet to anyone else? Like, my TV normally sits at like 23, 24, somewhere around there. I had to turn this episode up to like 60, so it might be like a weird audio mixing issue. But either way, Nothing really happened in this episode. Yes, I'll get to the very end. The big spoiler, as if anyone cares. Hayden Christensen comes back as Anakin, maybe as a Force ghost, maybe as some sort of specter of dark things to come, considering the Vader music played. I don't care. I really don't. Like, the de-aging technology looks like crap. They should just use Hayden's face as regular. It looked like they left off details. I did not for the life of me notice his scar, so maybe Disney is that devoid of, figuring out how to do things properly. Like, you guys ever watch the later Harry Potter movies, like specifically Order of the Phoenix? You watch that whole movie, and Harry almost never has his scar. Like, what was the makeup department doing? That's what this scene was like. I didn't see Anakin's scar. The de-aging looked terrible, and I know they want people to get excited because, oh, remember Hayden Christensen? How much everybody loves the prequels? Well, he's back now. Ahsoka's in the world between worlds. Yeah, maybe if you'd given me 4 episodes of television I gave a damn about, this would be really awesome. But at this point, it's just like, hey, look, remember this? Yeah, I remember. I remember when times were good, when life was better. I remember what life was like pre-9/11 and everyone was happy. Now, I don't remember any of that shit anymore. I mean, I do remember it, but I don't care about it. It's such a long-forgotten memory. What have you given us since? I would take another 9/11 before watching another episode of this shit, but I'm gonna watch another episode of it, because at this point, we're past the halfway point. I may as well go all in. We got 4 episodes left, which means you guys have 4 more weeks of just exhausted, apathetic, somewhat upsetty spaghetti Leon to keep describing to you why you should not be watching the Ahsoka show. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on Twitter. X, where you can find me at Bolt the Word. So please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, usually 2 videos a day. I am taking a small sort of break in terms of the 2 videos, not because I don't have the time or the resources to do 2 videos a day, but there just are a couple things in my personal life that made it difficult. So we will say I usually do 2 videos a day, but there will be a few days where only one comes just due to some certain scheduling conflicts that I am trying to get worked out. But until then, it's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.